Welcome to this week's Rider Support.
This week we're going to talk about efficiency on the group ride. Stay tuned till the end because there's a really weird question from a listener about how to slow your bike down. I'm not sure who would want to do that. But first, let's talk about Colnago and has it totally lost its way? Sarah.
Anthony, okay, let's crack straight into this. So this question is from Jez. It's very interesting and he just writes, real simple, is it just me or has Colnago totally lost touch with its roots?
This is obviously prompted by the new Colnago that UAE are riding for next season, which is pretty hideous.
Yeah, it's caused a little bit of a uproar online. I think people generally don't like it, but I think they're just like, well, you know what, it's a Colnago, so I would take it if I got one.
I think the problem is, and there's been a couple of inflection points in the Colnago story, and this seems to be another one. Colnago was a brand that was deep rooted in tradition, craftsmanship, everything that's Italian. You know, you get that feeling of a lad on the Côte d'Azur sipping an espresso on his yacht and the Colnagos in the background. That was its identity, and it was a family-owned business. It was a symbol of Italian cycling culture, experience, and it produced some of the most iconic racing bikes ever. Like, it's a brand that goes back to 1954 when Ernesto Colnago set it up, and it had a reputation as the best bike in the peloton, like a work of art. Eddie Merckx rode it through the 60s and 70s. The brand really focused on quality materials, but more importantly, hand-built craftsmanship, and that allowed it to maintain its position at the top of the cycling world. Now, if you fast forward to 2018, Colnago sold to the UAE-based group Al Habitor Group. Sorry, I just wanted to get that right. So this was a significant shift away from it being an old school family owned business. And maybe it's more symbolic than anything, but at that point as well, Ernesto Colnago refused to individually sign each bike. He used to hand sign each bike.
Oh, wow.
And from that moment in 2018 onwards, he stopped signing them. They focused more on mass production, broader consumer markets, and a real move away from its kind of artisan roots. And for me, this is the final inflection point where they've totally now chose to prioritize aerodynamics over style, over history, over heritage, over just cool factor. It's the least cool bike in the bunch now.
But are people calling out for that? Because everyone's so focused on aero, even, you know, people in a normal group ride who are not maybe doing a little bit of racing, but even sportifs, aero is the buzzword now. So they're buying a frame in a group set and it's costing them 13-14 grand, and they're thinking, well, if I'm spending that, I want to have this aero.
Have you ever heard anyone in the group talking about aero?
I don't know.
I just hear it from the pros. I don't hear it from local groups.
Yeah, but it is a huge marketing ploy, and it's something that would catch somebody's eye. Whether it actually makes a difference to that person or not on their group ride, I don't know, but I think it's like a marketing thing that people kind of want, and they want to be riding the bikes that the guys in the pro peloton are riding, whether they need to or not.
I don't agree. I think it's increasingly you're moving back to, people are looking for the artisanal bikes. They're looking for the rise of, you know, 51, Repete, Parlay. We're seeing these bespoke bike companies emerge in basically the shadow of those great companies like Colnago, because I don't think that could have existed if it wasn't for Colnago's decline.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's still a lot of power in seeing one of your favorite riders on a bike. I mean, if you look at those really iconic shots at this stage, I mean, when we were watching the Mathieu van der Poel in the white jersey ride a canyon, we were just like, I wonder how many people have literally opened up their laptop right now and bought one of those canyons, because that just looks absolutely epic. So I do think there is still a lot of power in it. Would you ride a Colnago?
No, it's not for me.
It's not for you.
It would have been. It's not for me anymore.
Yeah, they're still very, very beautiful bikes. So
worst bike in the bunch.
Oh, it's moved from Bianchi now to...
Well, Bianchi's not in the bunch.
Oh, is it not?
No, Bianchi's gone.
Ah, okay, yeah. Okay. And it's gone below Van Rysel and all of those kind of...
Well, bikes. Van Rysel's a bit of a Fisher-Price bike, but it's...
Wow.
I had the... Look, it's their third attempt, I think, at trying to make it into the World Tour, and it is meant to be good this time, but they have a lot of brand work to do to build that heritage. Like, it's just not... Eddie Merckx has never ridden a Van Rysel. It has work to do as a brand. They made a good start last year. I think they're going to try and build on that this year. I had Larry Warbass on the podcast, and he genuinely really liked the bike. Off air, he's like, it actually is a really good bike. But the sentiment in the team when they signed Van Rysel as a sponsor was like, are you kidding me? Like, we're riding a Decathlon bike. So I don't know. I think that's going to build, though, and hopefully they stay in the game, and it does build that history over the next few years.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, next question. Anthony, hi from Canada. I love the show. Have you ever lived with slow leaks? And do you think having a slow leak that is relatively constant, my leaks have lasted 3+ months and 500+ miles, do they increase the chances of a blowout?
This might be a nice segue to me talking about you trying to fix my tubeless tyre for the first time last night.
I was actually thinking of taking a picture of the mess that I created. It wasn't even a puddle of sealant, it was like a lake of sealant, and I was like, I don't want to document
You couldn't
this
even pick up your phone. You glue all over your hands, all over the tyres. I went on the group ride and everyone's like, what happened to your tyre? I was like, Sarah happened to my tyre. It's like caked all over my wheels.
The lads are taking the piss out of me the entire ride. They were like, oh, will you come over and do my tubeless tyres later?
So I suspect I have a slow leak at the moment as a result of you learning how to put tubeless sealant in. How did that go for you?
It was really convoluted, difficult. I've seen you doing it a few times and I was like, this is easy. What is everyone banging on about bringing their tires down to get tubeless down to the mechanic because they can't do it themselves? This looks absolutely piss easy. No, literally an hour and 15 minutes later I had to get you to take over. It was just really bad. Please don't let me put you off trying that job yourself, but I found it quite stressful.
You're a great ad for clinchers.
Yeah, exactly. I give it my best shot. I give it my best shot.
So to answer this lad's question, a lot of questions coming in from Canada at the moment, because I was talking on the back pain podcast with a lad from Richmond Hill where I used to live, and I think that's maybe prompted some of that. But a slow leak isn't great. I've had a leaky valve on before I changed into the new tires we were just talking about. I did have a leaky valve, which was annoying me for quite a while, and I was getting like a 6-hour ride out of it, so it wasn't worth going to the border of changing it for me when I was busy. But then when I get back trained a little bit, I was like, you know what, it is gradually losing air pressure through the course of a ride. So you start out with your optimum air pressure using our cool air pressure calculator I built when I was off sick.
Oh, I love that calculator, Anthony.
Tell me more.
I use it every single day.
The link's below. So you are losing air pressure as you go on the ride. So that's not great for a number of reasons. More chance of you bottoming out, pinch flats, misjudging traction through a corner because you've, previously, where the traction is with X air, now you've X minus 20%. And I think if you ride it long enough and put enough mileage into it, like you said, 500+ miles, you're going to get a little bit of degradation of the tyre sidewall and maybe even the rim if you hit something bad enough.
Yeah. And also, can I just say, this guy has balls, because maybe he's a very experienced rider. If there's anything wrong with my tires, if I thought there was a slow leak or extremely slow leak, straight away I would be changing it, because I just think, okay, I'm asking for trouble. I don't want to be abandoned out in the middle of nowhere, getting run out of gas canisters or stuff like that. So yeah, this is not something that I would sit. You do it because I think you're more comfortable changing tubes and
I punctured last week and I had 2 gas canisters with me. Like, first one, poof, total misfire.
Yeah.
Second one, I screwed it on, it just blew up my hand, and I was like, right, it can't be the pump.
That's the problem with the CO2 canisters, isn't it? I mean, they are good in, I guess, a race when you need to do it really quickly, but there's nothing like a little hand pump. Okay.
We are so excited to announce that we are partnering with Whoop. Whoop are changing the game when it comes to wearable technology and health monitoring. Whoop is a wearable health and fitness coach that provides you with feedback and actionable insights into your sleep, your recovery, your training, your stress, and your overall health. Sarah and I have been using Whoop for years, and we love the insights it provides into our body's inner workings. It really gives us a look under the hood. And you're going to see Mathieu van der Poel, Richard Carapaz, and other elite level cyclists wearing Whoop, but it isn't just for those superstars. All the data is personalized to your unique physiology and fitness levels. If you're interested in taking control of your health and your fitness so that you can excel in all aspects of your life, you have to go and check out Whoop. Go to the URL now, which is join.whoop.com/roadman. I'm going to pop that in the description below, and you're going to get a free month's access to Whoop membership on me. Promise you won't regret it.
Next question. Hi, Anthony and Sarah. I have a question for you and I hope I can explain it okay. Sometimes in the group ride, I get dropped
This
down
is
the
probably
back.
a question for you about getting dropped.
This is another question. There's always one every week, isn't there? You're like, did you write this in? Either through lack of fitness, or sometimes when we are going around a corner, or if I'm getting something to eat or drink. Sometimes the gap is small, so I will sprint back to the group, but there's been a few occasions where quite a gap has opened up, 200 to 300 meters, if I'm taking my rain jacket off. What should I do here? Go full gas to get back on, or slowly pace myself back up there? Sprinting takes my energy, but if I pace up to the lads, I'm out in the wind longer, and that's very fatiguing too.
What would you do as someone who's got gapped out of many corners?
Yeah, gapping out of corners, I sprint back on. Like I just go for it, because next thing before you know it, the gap will be getting bigger and bigger. You know, the pace will pick up up front. So if it's just out of a corner, I've lost a couple of meters, I just focus on getting back on the wheel. That's literally my obsession, is getting back on the wheel for those, I don't know, whatever, couple of seconds. If the gap opens up along like 150, 200 meters, I'm not sprinting. I don't have a 200 meter sprint in me, to
You've
be
had
honest.
some trouble if you've lost 300 meters.
But if you're taking a jacket off, it's happened to me before where I've dropped my glasses and had to go back and get them, and had to kind of pace myself back on. But I'm going pretty hard pacing myself back on, but I'm not at a full sprint. So what's your advice? Am I doing the right thing there?
Sean Lally Senior, who anyone Irish probably knows, Sean Lally's a legend in Irish cycling. He was out on the group ride last year, and I heard him explain to his grandson. We have a little section on the ride where we all attack each other, and it's kind of, the facts aren't exactly the same, but the lesson's still applicable. He was explaining at the coffee shop how the young lad got his tactics wrong for this little section. So one of the fast lads, Johannes, attacked on the first climb and got a gap, and then I got across to him, and Sean was explaining to the young lad, he's like, okay, when Johannes goes away, you have a problem. When Anto gets across to him, you have a forest fire. And he's like, the only way to stamp out a forest fire, or the only way to stop a forest fire, is to stamp it out instantly.
Yeah.
So you have to close gaps fast. You can't close gaps slow.
But even if it's that 300 meters, you're like, would you go full
Gotta
gas?
close it fast.
Go full gas, okay.
As soon as there's rotation change on the front, like, you're done. So you're hoping you can slowly wind back in. Yeah, you got to go fast. Like, you're not going to sprint the 300 meter gap, but you got to be riding like zone 5 to get across and close it.
That can be the end of your day, can't it? Like, that's almost killed me a few times, that 200, 300 meters.
It's more preventative though. Like, that stuff, like, you shouldn't be taking your jacket off and losing 300 meters. Wait till the traffic lights and take it off.
It's something that you always say to me as well, like, stop. What I do is, when I'm taking a drink or eating, is I stop pedaling, and that's not what you do either. You need to learn how to eat and drink while you're moving, so you're not having to do all of those micro accelerations.
And if you
100
can,
of them.
now it's a little bit advanced, but take your jacket off in the group. Don't do it in the middle of the group, so if you crash, you bring down the whole group. Pull to the side or pull down the back and take your jacket off. This is the thing, everyone's obsessing about stupid shit all the time, and they don't know how to do the fundamentals. Like, taking your jacket off is pretty
I can't even
necessary.
take my hands off the handles.
They're not called handles either.
The handlebars. If I ever won a race, Anthony, imagine if I ever won a race.
I don't think you have to worry about
how would
that.
I celebrate?
I brought it up on Instagram the other day. Did you see the guy that won the race and he threw his hands up and went over the handlebars?
Okay, next question. Hi, Anthony and Sarah. I've noticed on steep climbs, I really struggle to hold a steady cadence when I'm shifting between gears, especially in the final third of the climb when my legs are shot. It feels like I'm either grinding too hard or spinning out, and it's costing me time and energy. Is there a technique or a gearing strategy to keep things smooth, or is this just a fitness issue I need to work on?
A little bit of both. I think it's a fitness issue. I can't address that as an answer in the question, but I think there's some technique issue which can make it a little bit easier. Anticipating your shifts make a big difference. If you're on a steep climb, the bike doesn't like to shift under tension. So shifting at the right moment can make a huge difference. And if you wait until the cadence feels really bad and it starts to get on top of you and you're grinding a gear, it can be hard to transition slowly and smoothly into an easier gear. So looking ahead and anticipating your shifts and shifting before the gradient makes a difference. Using smaller shifts rather than jumping from like a 25 all the way up to a 32, gradually anticipate the changing incline. Like, the road rarely goes from 10% to 20%. It's normally 10%, 12%, 14%. So making micro shifts up the block one at a time, all as the gradient progresses, change your gears.
But also as your fatigue levels increase, you might need to keep the cadence, you might need to come down the block, even if the gradient's not going up, but your fatigue levels are going up, maybe just bring it.
Yeah, I would almost put that into pacing, which is probably the main thing. It's like knowing the length of the climb. Like you shouldn't be massively starting to slow towards the top of a climb if you know how long it is. Most of us are riding climbs that we know the length of if it's on the club spin. But if you aren't, just turning on functions on your Garmin or on your Wahoo that show you the upcoming climb. You use Hammerhead actually, and it has a brilliant upcoming climb feature which shows you gradients when it's starting.
Yeah, it's a little graphic right in front of you basically, and it kind of goes into like green, yellow, green, red or whatever, and you know, okay, I'm coming up in 50 meters, I'm coming up to like a red. So
and I also think understanding actually what gears you have, like you're riding my old bike, it's not brilliantly geared for you. It's a 5339, which is a traditional racing setup. You could probably do like a 5036, giving you just a bit more range. You're going to struggle for gears on climbs rather than like gears in line outs at 55k an hour. It's not as applicable when you're doing club spins and
yeah, like I do like when I'm out and doing a hillier ride and I'm on my gravel bike, because I just feel like I've way more options.
But even understanding and starting to understand the terminology in that is really helpful. Like starting to understand what's the difference between a 53 and a 52 versus an 11 and a 12 in the back. Someone will message this in the comments, or someone maybe link it up in the comments. There was a guy, I think it was Sheldon Brown, had this really cool gear calculator years ago. He had an amazing online reference where he was just a dude who created a blog, and the blog expanded to become like the definitive guide for cycling, including tools, mechanicals. But he had a great gear calculator on there, which is definitely worth checking out. Transform your indoor cycling with Ruvi, the platform that brings real-world routes and augmented reality to your training. Whether you're preparing for a big event or you're just looking to explore, Ruvi lets you experience legendary rides like Alpe d'Huez and Passo de Stelvio from the comfort of your home. Ruvi's unique augmented reality technology uses real-life video and GPS data to create the most realistic cycling experience available. You'll feel every climb, descent and turn with precise terrain replication, giving you an authentic outdoor ride indoors. Plus, with AR elements like avatars and banners, the ride really feels totally immersive and interactive. With over 1,500 routes and 25,000 kilometers, the world's most iconic cycling destinations, Ruvi is perfect for cyclists of all levels. Whether you want to enjoy scenic routes, participate in group rides, or push your limits with advanced training plans, Ruvi has you covered. Ruvi also offers flexible pricing, allowing you to pause your subscription or choose duo or group plans to share the experience. From exploring new places to serious training, Ruvi has something for every cyclist. Ready to ride the world? Visit ruvi.com and start your journey today.
Okay, great advice. Okay, last question. This is a bit of a fun. This is one I've certainly never seen come into the podcast before. Hi, Anthony. I got my 12-year-old a road bike for Christmas. This may seem like a strange question, but is there a way to slow it down? I'm deadly serious. He's very fit, but like most young lads, his brain hasn't fully developed around decision making and risk taking. So I'm wondering if there's a way to slow him down, like reverse aero.
One approach is to limit the range of gears on his bike, maybe. So don't, like we were talking about for the guy, or you're on a 5311. You're going to pick up a lot of speed in a 5311. If you stick someone juniors, I think the restrictions got removed last year, but there was gear and restrictions up to a couple of years ago for juniors. I think the theory on it was it impaired muscular development or impaired development when they were forced to kind of really muscle those big gears around. I think that was debunked, so they removed it. So now juniors are like winning senior races when they're good enough. But you could limit his gears. Another one you could do might help a little bit is like wider tires on for him, although the data on that's nearly shown they're faster at points. They're definitely less aero, lowers tire pressure a little bit. But the main thing is just like get him to focus on bike handling. Like you can do loads of cool stuff with bike handling, off-road cyclocross skills. Like if you put in like Belgian skills camp for kids into YouTube, you see what the kids are doing, picking up bottles, dropping bottles, jumping cones, like little U-turns around tight quarters. And then as his speed progresses, as he ages, he's going to have the skills to match that speed.
That's what I was just going to say. It's really, you're not going to stop this 12-year-old really enjoying his bike and going fast. What will probably slow him down is his first crash. I was completely blasé about what could happen or what could go wrong when I first started cycling with you and descending like a lunatic. And I had a little bit of a spill, nothing really, really serious. And it just makes you think then at that point, you know, oh, wow, things can get a little bit tricky here. So a little bit of a spill, I'm not wishing that upon your 12-year-old son, but as he experiences more on the bike and as he kind of has a couple of near misses and things happen like where he's like, whoa, that was kind of trickier, that could have gone wrong very quickly, that will give him that experience to, you know, maybe rein it in a little bit.
Well, I also think choose terrain, because that's one of the things is like you were in Colombia on long descents when really you should have been in Qatar up and down the flat road.
What I was just going to say as well is don't be afraid to sit on his wheel. Let him do the work out front and sit on his wheels and kind of keep the pace down as well. But I think you're so right, Anthony. It's more of a bike handling.
But you can give him approved routes. You're allowed to ride this route, but you're not allowed to ride this route. Like if it's long descents, you know, you don't want him in long Alpine Pyrenean descents if he's bad decision maker or poor bike handling.
There's nothing that makes me happier than seeing like that age group 10, 11, 12, 13 on road bikes. It's just so cool, isn't it, when they have like their full kit and you can tell that they're really, really into it. Just
there is actually a tool to slow them down, and it's, I can't remember the exact name of it. It's like Air Hub. Michael Freiberg, who was the world Omnium champion, I think it was like back in 2012, 2013, created a hub which almost had like an internal brake on it for if you were going on a group ride and you were way stronger than everyone on the group ride and you wanted to add 10, 15, 20, 30 watts of resistance to your ride, it adds an internal brake. So people used them in flat terrains. Like I coached some people in Doha and they couldn't get, you know, access to climbs. So you could mimic the effects of a climb by having this front braking hub on the bike. Can't remember exactly what it's called or if it's still in production, but it was a great idea.
Feels like that will eventually make them stronger and faster as well.
Definitely will. Yeah, just don't let the hub off.
Don't let the hub off. Oh, thank you for writing in for that question. That was very original. Never heard that before.
I think that's a wrap, is it?
Yeah.
Roadmen, that is a wrap. If you enjoyed this show, there's another video up here which you're definitely gonna love, and don't forget to click down here and subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you next week.